anything in the works for a Red Dead 3?
We've already done it. It's all done. It's coming out. I don't think they've announced it yet, but I think it's tomorrow after lunchtime.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of Party Chat. I am Ben. This is my co-host Grady.
What up?
And today, a couple weeks ago, we had John Marston and we had Frank Woods from Call of Duty. And so it just keeps getting elevated. This week, we have a very special guest. He's not just a voice actor. He doesn't just have the voice. He's a performance capture, full-on actor, and he was the voice and the full character of one of the greatest video game characters of all time, back from the dead. Today, we are with Arthur Morgan, aka Roger Clark. What's up, Roger?
Howdy, cowpokes. How y'all doing?
We love it. We love the hat, man.
Oh,
Sounds
yeah.
a little.
I asked them if it was too much. They said no. Yeah.
No,
I figure I better get it in before you know. My hair's getting a little gray, so I thought I'd hide it a bit, you know?
So I think some fans may be somewhat shocked to hear how your true Roger Clark voice sounds after they have fallen in love with your character. Was that a challenge for you, learning the Western accent?
Not really. I mean, the most important thing for me is, it was a long project. It was the longest contract I ever had, 5 years. So for me, once I found it. But staying consistent over the years was what I was really keen on doing. But the wonderful folk at Rockstar, they made that a lot easier. I'd ask them every once in a while, hey, can you just play me something from like 2 years ago? And I would just reattune myself. But yeah, my accent's all screwed up. For those who are curious, I was born in New Jersey. I grew up in Ireland. And then I lived in the UK for about a decade, so it's all screwed up.
Do you feel like when you were doing the Western accent, do you feel like it started to bleed into your regular life at all?
My wife says it did. I don't believe her. I don't think so. At the beginning, it was like, oh gosh, you're creating this character, along with all the wonderful writers and the animators as well, I mean, you wouldn't have Arthur without one. So you take one of their contributions out and it's gone, So we were creating it together. And at the beginning, it was a little more challenging to slip in and out of character. But by the time we were like 4 or 5 months in, it was just like flicking a switch,
Nice. Well, Roger/Arthur, this is called Party Chat. This is the Party Chat button. Every time Grady and I press this button, we hit you with a different question. Are you ready to get into it?
Yeah, great. That's a great idea, too, in case I keep talking for too long. Yeah.
All right, yeah, just hit the buzzer.
It's mostly for us to get out of awkward situations and bad jokes. It's a good thing to get out. All right, I'm going to hit it. All right, first question. How much money do you think Dutch needs before he stops asking?
Oh, man, I don't think we've ever hit that number.
I don't either.
It's just that it's the carrot with the donkey,
Yeah.
I know I've seen a lot of playthroughs where people do all the gold bars in like chapter 1, and like they've got like damn near $1 million. It's still not enough. $1 million back then, that would have been more than enough for the whole gang to get over to Tahiti, buy a few acres for mangoes and whatnot. That would have been more than enough, but. I don't think it was about the money. I think it was just about that lifestyle and the fact that outlaw lifestyle is getting wiped out by 1899. That's what he really wanted to keep going. He had the money, and even if he had the money, he would still be robbing banks.
I love it. I love that explanation. Good.
You came up with the way that Arthur Morgan pulled his weapon out of his holster. Can you walk us through that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's faster or not. And when you watch the in-game footage, he doesn't really do it that way. He does it the normal way. But there is a way. We got pretty good with the replicas because we actually worked with the replicas on set. And I know Peter Blomquist, who plays Micah. You may know that his holsters are inverted, so he kind of pulls them out a bit like Ben Foster does in 310 to Yuma. That character did influence a lot of Micah. If you'll see, they got the same white cowboy hat and the kind of the same double-breasted brown leather jacket. And he pulls his out like that, but all the rest of us pulled it out normally. But I found out that, I hope I'm making myself clear, but if you kind of pull it out and then let the holster kind of, as you go forward, let the holster push the gun back, then it spins forward and you can pull the hammer back once. It's kind of cool, but it's not faster. And if you look at the in-game footage of Arthur, most of the time he pulls it out the right way. But yeah, we got pretty good at doing it. I can't say we were very accurate, but we got pretty good at pulling them out of the holsters in badass and cool ways.
That's a really cool element to the performance capture too. Go ahead, Grace.
That's what I was gonna say. I think that's a good moment to transition into. You know, a lot of people use the word voice actor, or they think that you were just the voice of Arthur, but really you were playing him every day, acting out the motions. So, like, what is the big difference between voice acting and performance capture, in your opinion?
So yeah, every studio does it differently, but performance capture, we've all seen it. You've seen behind the scenes footage of Planet of the Apes, Avatar, Andy Serkis doing it in Lord of the Rings. And that's becoming more and more of a medium that's used in games now. And that's what most of my work on Red Dead 2 was. I would say maybe only like 10 to 15% of the work that I did was actually in a booth doing voice acting. And even in those instances, you'd still have a face cam, so that they could get the lips right.
Right.
But it was, that's why it took so long, because not just the cutscenes, but also pretty much all of the in-game animations was done by the actual actors themselves. I'd say most of what you see Arthur do was me, except for major stunts, which in that case were done by some pretty amazing stunt performers. And then every once in a while, depending if with the side missions, if it could be completed by either John or Arthur, then it might be Rob doing the mocap,
Yeah,
I can always tell, because Rob walks differently to me,
Were there any particularly exhausting things that you had to do in performance capture?
Yes. Crouch running, crouch walking, crouch stealthing. That was like 2 or 3 days of just crouching. And you have to do it without anything in your hands. Then you have to do it with one gun. Then you have to do it with 2 guns. Then you have to do it with a shotgun. Then you have to do it with a rifle. Then you have to do it with like a stick of dynamite or a Molotov cocktail. And then you have to do it slowly. Then you do it regularly. Then you do it fast. Yeah, it was a good workout on the thighs. And
if you had to take a guess, how many miles do you think you crouch walked in the creation of Red Dead?
A couple of miles, probably. Okay, a couple of miles.
What about, there's a scene, obviously, where you save John and you carry him.
Which one? Is that the first one from the wolves?
Yes.
Yeah. That was the first day I met Rob, actually. The first time we worked together was that particular scene. And yeah, he was up on my shoulder. He's not a small man either. He's over 6 foot.
Not.
But that's why I love performance capture, because don't get me wrong, I love voice acting too, but when you're in a booth by yourself, sometimes you got to work a little harder to get those sounds to be authentic. When we were doing the mocap and he's literally on my shoulder, I didn't have to worry about sounding authentic at all, because I was actually doing it,
Nice. Cool. All right, Roger, I'm going to ask you this question and have you answer in character. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So, Arthur, how many bodies you got?
Oh, damn. I must have taken out clear. How many? Are we talking O'Driscolls or... Oh, wait a minute.
Just
you're talking about
lifetime.
Ladies,
how many bodies you got in your lifetime?
Oh, you talking about ladies?
No, I was talking about like your KD.
Oh, okay. Well, gosh, depends how you play me, cowpoke. You push my buttons the right way, we can rack it up into the thousands together.
Whoa.
Yeah, there it is. All of Mexico, I've heard.
That's great.
All right, I got one. So a player has pointed out that in the right situations, you can make Arthur silently cry. Can you confirm or deny that?
Oh, I don't remember doing that at all. Is that I don't know the situation. What's the circumstances? Is it in game?
Yeah, I'll have to look it up, but there's some situations where players think that you can make Arthur silently cry, but maybe that myth was just busted right now.
Is it the only thing I don't remember doing that except maybe one instance if you get him really drunk and
Yeah, okay.
and then he's just riding on his horse by himself out in the wilderness by himself. There might be some situations where he feels a little bit sorry for himself, like when he's singing drunkenly, but I don't remember him crying specifically. If he stands in front of the mirror, he'll slag himself off, because he's got such low self-esteem. But making him actually cry, I can't attest to doing that. Maybe when he's drunk.
That's great. That's a great answer. I mean, what an appropriate time to cry, right? I mean, if I had a dime for every time I got too drunk and rode my horse in the wilderness,
Yeah,
had
tell
a
me
good
about
cry,
it, man.
I'd be a rich man.
Yeah. And every time I always get on my horse, I'm always scared I'm going to punch some guy right next to me,
Yeah, exactly. It's just force of habit. How do you not? How do you
I used to do that all the time when I played it the first time. I would always go, oh, no. You're trying to get on your horse, and if you're in Saint-Denis or if it's a busy part of the map, then I would always punch some random NPC. And then just trying to get on my horse. The next thing I know, I owe $5,000,
Yep.
Did you play a lot of Red Dead?
I've played it twice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I got
Played
into
it through
online
twice.
during COVID, but I haven't picked it up since COVID.
What was your reaction to the ending of your character? Like, were you shocked when you read it in the script, or was that something you helped co-write? What was kind of your thoughts on that?
Oh man, well, we had very little input, knowingly, as far as the story was concerned. But I do know for a fact that the writers were paying very close attention to what we were doing and how we were doing it, and they would accommodate to our strengths and
That's
etc.
awesome.
But yeah, I knew that Arthur's fate was. I knew it from pretty early on, like within the first month of filming. But we didn't film it until probably 4 years after that. So for 4 years, I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't know exactly how and in what
Got it.
detail. But when we finally knocked them out, and as you know, there are 4 different endings for Arthur. There's the high and low honor version of helping John, and then there's the high and low honor version of going back for the money. So doing those ones, I was a little nervous, I won't lie, because
Yeah.
I knew that hopefully by this point in the game, the player had grown somewhat attached to Arthur. So I wanted to be able to give him the justice that he deserved for the end of his story. But yeah, by the time we did do it, I was pretty comfortable with who the character was, and I trusted my team and the wonderful crew and our wonderful director. So once we got it, I was happy that we got it. But I'll tell you what, though, when I was playing the epilogue for the first time, that was the first part in the game, and I didn't know what was going to happen next. And I remember Rob would be filming it, and he's like, oh, there was this great scene in the epilogue today I was doing. And I said to him, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. I'd like at least one portion of the game to be completely fresh first time I play it.
That's awesome.
Wow. When Arthur Morgan died, did a piece of you die as well?
Yeah, and has done every day since. No, not really. No.
Dang. Well, going off of that, I got one more. As a gamer, I need a definitive answer. Which Red Dead is better, Red Dead 1 or Red Dead 2?
Oh, man. Well, I'm biased, I'm going to say 2. But Red Dead 1 is the OG, I was playing that and GTA 5. I was just going back and forth between those 2 games the whole time we were making Red Dead 2, and let's be honest, there wouldn't be a Red Dead 2 if it weren't for the fact that Red Dead Redemption is an awesome game, and it still is, and it still holds up, I think I absolutely love Red Dead Redemption, but Red Dead 2 has got better graphics, it's a bigger map, it's more detailed, it's bigger and grander in almost every way. So, and of course, I got to work on that. So I gotta say, yeah, completely biased, but I'm gonna say 2.
All right, that's a great answer.
All right. Let's do this. What was your top 5 favorite voice lines to record?
Okay, yeah. Well, a lot of the antagonistic lines were very, very, very fun to do, and most of the great antagonize, most of that in-game stuff that you say to NPCs, that was voice acting in the booth. My favorite, number 1. Sure, do I have to start at 5?
No,
Yes.
you get. Oh yeah, start at 5 because it'll be good for the clip.
Okay, number 5. Number 5 was one of the cutscenes. It wasn't voice acting, but I worked with this wonderful lady who's, you may remember her. She's that crazy archaeologist. Not archaeologist, like like Ross from Friends. She's one of them, but she's terrible and she doesn't know what she's doing. And when Arthur finds out that there's dinosaur bones all over the place, he looks at her and he goes, "You mean they're real?" I did this little look around first, saying I don't see any, and that one really tickled me. Another one I really liked for number 4 is when he's with that Nikola Tesla guy. What's his name? Dragic? Ivan Dragic? He's the guy. And anyway, Arthur says, "Oh, it's a toy boat!" Because he's winding up the European
Love
dude. The European inventor, remember him?
Yeah, that's hilarious.
All right, that's number 4. Number 3, I really like. You can tell I like the funny ones. When it's towards the end of the game and they're planning a big, huge train robbery mission along with Eagle Flies and all of his buddies going against Rainfall's wishes. And the train just plows through Saint Denis and it doesn't stop like they were expecting it to. And Arthur is just watching it go by at like 70 miles an hour and he says to Dutch, "Should we just hop on now?" Because by that point, Dutch and Arthur aren't getting along very well. So Arthur's being really sarky there, and it really made me giggle. That's number 3, isn't it? Number 2, I'll swap it. Number 2, this is a bit of a more of a serious thing. But if you help out, what's his name, Brother Dorkins in Saint Denis, if you do those missions, and if you meet Sister Calderon, then later on in the game, after you've been diagnosed with TB, you'll meet her again at a train station, and Arthur opens up to her and confesses to her that he's dying, and this is like the first time that he's talked about it with almost anyone. If you're playing the game, and he admits to Sister Calderon that he's afraid. That was a really cool scene to work with, and I had an excellent scene partner too. So I think that's number 2. But number 1 is one of my favorite antagonized lines. I say it to fans every once in a while. I remember one time I said it to a fan, and I don't think they were familiar with the line, and they actually got a little bit upset because they thought I was insulting them for real. And I was like, no, it's just what Arthur says. I didn't mean it like that. But it was, "You smell like your shit took a shit."
That's hilarious.
Good. That's hilarious. You said it to a guy, and he was like,
"What? Why would you say that?" And I'm like, "Dude, you smell fine. Don't worry. It's just."
Well, yeah, the folks going out to some of those conventions, I think that line might be true about.
might be
yeah, sometimes, but it's such a big nerd fest. I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Totally.
It's all a big safe space for nerds.
We're 2 of them.
Yeah. All right. Who's the real Arthur Morgan? "You smell like your shit took a shit."
Okay, that last shit came out a little weird there. Sassafras. That's
right,
my one word. Sassafras.
Sassafras.
Right. That's how I kind of warm up. "You smell like your shit took a shit."
Gentlemen, I admire your effort, but if someone were to say that to me, I wouldn't even be insulted. I'd feel sorry for them. No, it's like this, cowpoke, see? It's like, "You smell like your shit took a shit."
Oh, yeah. That's way better
Dude,
than
it's crazy how crispy your acting and voice is. Like, we always will do that, and I'll say it, and then you clearly are a professional, and you just can't
Thanks.
Obviously in the game it seems like you're watching a normal person talk, but then when you get on the phone with someone, you're like, oh yeah, your voice is like perfect for this.
Yes.
Are
Sometimes
there any-
people go, I've had people come up to me and say, Rob uses his real voice. It always
Right.
makes me laugh. Because it's my real voice too,
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, I use my robot. Yeah, I use my robot voice.
If I showed up doing Arthur Morgan in half Irish accent, trust me, you'd be talking to somebody else right now.
Yeah. Even Rob, like, even though it's his real voice, like, we're talking to him and then we would do something like that, and still, you're right in the performance capture and the acting, like he's turning something on when he's doing it.
Absolutely.
It's like everyone's turning something on, and the way they talk is very succinct. There's just there's a real talent to it. Obviously, you know that.
He's been doing that character now for over 15 years. And one thing that really blew my mind, is we see a different John Marston in Red Dead 2. He's a little younger. He's almost, dare I say it, a bit of a punk, And the way Rob, it's still John Marston, but it's a John Marston from like 10 or 15 years before, and he's a little greener. And the way Rob did that, it just blew my mind.
Who's the real Arthur Morgan? You got some money for me, boy?
You got some money for me, boy?
You got some money for me, boy? I've seen your
Whoa.
name and I'll let you.
That's awesome.
The way you said boy is just very convincing.
All right, I got one. All right, so this is more general one, but when you first got the Red Dead gig, did you know how big and prolific of a role it would become?
I was a huge fan of Red Dead Redemption, and just as it happened, I finished the game a couple of weeks before my first audition. Now, I didn't know I was auditioning for Red Dead 2 at the first one, but eventually they told me, as I was getting closer and closer to booking the job. And when I found that out, I was a little blown away. And honestly, I was just hoping that we would do as well as the predecessor,
Oh, cool.
Because I know when I was playing the first Red Dead Redemption, spoilers, but when you start as Jack, oh gosh, I miss John. Everybody misses John when you start playing as Jack. It's not Jack's fault. It's just you can't help but get attached to him because you've spent dozens of hours with this guy. And I knew that people would feel the same way too once they discovered that John wasn't the lead in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Right.
So, I was prepared for that. But I just decided early on I got to do my own thing, because if I let that get in my head too much, then all I'm thinking about is not being John Marston, and that's not what the story deserves,
Right.
So to answer your question, I was a little concerned, yeah, but I was just hopeful that it would serve the story and be as good as its predecessor, and I think we achieved that.
Especially gamers, and I am a gamer as well, but there definitely is a real attachment. I mean, you watch a movie a couple times, or even if you're a big Star Wars fan, maybe you watch the movie 100 times, which means you watch a movie 100 times, it's 3 hours long, they've put 300 hours into watching Star Wars. Gamers will log 10,000 hours into a game, 1,000 hours. So their attachment to these characters is insane.
Yeah.
So it's smart that you realize that, for sure.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask kind of on top of that is, was there ever a moment where you were like, whoa, people are really like loving this character? Whoa, this is my career is taking off from this role. Or was ever a moment when someone stopped you and was like, hey, are you, from the game? When was the moment you felt like, dang, I'm really a part of this franchise now?
I guess it would have been a couple of days after it came out. Maybe even before that. I know the fans, Rockstar fans, are amazing, and it's no secret that Rockstar use minimal advertising and marketing, and that does drive a lot of the fans a little crazy when they're waiting for trailers that aren't coming.
Yeah.
So they get a little bored. And I know that with all that spare time, they can be extremely resourceful and extremely clever. So
Yeah.
There was like a little tiny crew of diehard fans who kind of found out who the cast were before the game came out.
Wow.
because they were cross-referencing the original cast members from Red Dead Redemption. Bill Williamson, Dutch, John Marston, and they were monitoring whoever they were following recently on social media. And they go, okay, so all three of these guys are now following another actor by the name of Roger Clark. I wonder what Roger Clark has in common with these three guys. Damn, they must be working together. Yeah. So they put two and two together, and they were right. We didn't confirm or deny anything, but the speculation is insane. And when I started to witness that, that's when I knew how big this potentially could become. But another step was once we started seeing how positively it was being received by the majority of critics and gamers alike. It just was the biggest source of vindication. That's all an actor really wants. Is just is to have an audience that appreciates your work, and an audience the size of Red Dead Redemption 2 is like beyond my wildest dreams. I never expected to have an exposure that big, and I pinch myself every day because of it. Outlaws for life.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. Going off kind of the GTA stuff and the spoilers, I know you're probably not going to be able to answer this, but I have to ask this, otherwise the fans get on me, and they're all going to read your body language, I'm sure. So, is there anything in the works for a Red Dead 3?
We've already done it. It's all done. It's coming out. I don't think they've announced it yet, but I think it's tomorrow after lunchtime.
Okay, perfect. Great. Okay, awesome.
Hope you like it.
Wow, breaking news.
Yeah. No,
Thank
dude.
you.
I mean, even if I was working on it, I would tell you that I'm not.
Right. Exactly. Yep. I know.
Wait a second. That means he is.
No, it doesn't.
But
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, everybody tries to. Oh, we got you. No, you haven't.
I know.
I've been doing this for years. You're not gonna get
Yep.
me.
It's a question I always have to ask.
I'm honestly not working on it.
Yeah, I know. We would never. I know you're not. But they're all gonna be like, if you look at his right pupil and the way it twitches when he says that he's not working on it, you'll be able to see.
Wouldn't you like to be surprised though? I hate leaks.
Yes.
I hate them. Whenever one comes out, I'm almost tempted not to look at it, because what really sucks is when it's not ready. If you see something unfinished.
Yep,
like with like Wolverine and Insomniac, that sucked. I felt so. It makes me feel so bad for the devs, because I know how hard they work on these games. And then if something unfortunately gets leaked before it's ready, before it's a final finished product, and we see this half finished job, I just think that's the worst way to be introduced to something that you're really passionate about.
I will also say that I feel like with a lot of art forms and video games included, a half finished job, people are like, oh, it's half finished, which means I'm seeing like 50%. So then they like multiply what they're seeing by 2 as far as quality goes. But a lot of it could be 80% finished and it looks like it's 10% done. Like, I feel like there's so much that goes into the last 10 to 20% of polishing off a game, where it's like, whoa, this thing finally came to life and it looks incredible. Or even with like a storytelling or the storyline or filling in gaps. And so I totally agree with you. Sometimes the leaks, even if they're 90% done, it could get leaked and ruin your first perception of it. When if you would have waited for that last 10%, it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, it's ready when it's ready, and like, we've seen so many good games that were a little hairy on release day, but then got better as they started wiping away the bugs and whatnot. But, it was very hard for these games to live down the bad rep that they got on launch day. Like, for example, No Man's Sky, which is now an amazing game. Same thing happened with Cyberpunk, And one thing that Rockstar will never intentionally do is release something before it's ready, and I
that's
really appreciate
a great example. Cyberpunk is a great example of because that game
is so awesome now.
Yeah, it's a great
but
game.
that could easily have been the story of GTA 6, of it getting released, and then it has 9 million bugs, especially with all the hype that's built around it. You can't just put it out and
I would be very surprised to see Rockstar release something unfinished.
All right, hit it.
So, Roger, I want you to go back to when you were in the booth or on the performance capture stage or just reading the scripts, or even like retrospectively thinking about your performance as Arthur Morgan. Were there any lines that didn't quite make the game that you really wish did?
There was a few things that did get cut, you know, but you gotta be willing to kill your babies. That's what they say in the editing room. And by that,
or
you know,
eat your
you
babies
gotta
if
really
you're
think
John.
what serves the story best. And even if it's a side mission that's really, really awesome, you know, is this going to affect or alter the pacing of the main story in a bad way? And that's beyond my pay grade to make those sort of decisions. But, you know, stuff that didn't get into the game, I can see why. You know, it's not a small game. And you know, I learned to have faith in the people that I was working with. They know how to tell a story, and I really learned how to trust them because I knew that we had a mutual understanding of the character and what we were trying to do with the game. And so any specific lines, I don't remember specific lines, but I do remember some missions. There was a nice mission with Micah where I think you were in some factory in Saint Denis and you just blow the whole place up. That didn't see it, but that was a lot of fun. There's another one where you and Dutch go on a train trying to kill these bounty hunters from Boston.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that was particularly fun because Ben's from Boston.
And you're Irish.
And so he's telling all these guys how to do the accent properly.
Yeah.
But
cool.
that's a regular occurrence, you know, when you're working on a project. Some stuff gets cut, you know, it's just
What about any Easter eggs that are really rare in the game that you really appreciated?
Yeah, anything you've acted out that you're like, man, I don't know where this went.
There's a few. You know, I'll tell you one. It's not in Red Dead 2, but it's in the first Red Dead Redemption. One thing that really blew my mind is, you know, as John in the first Red Dead Redemption, you may remember you have the choice to just settle up and just sit by. If you ask nicely, you can just sit by someone's campfire and just shoot the breeze for a while, and they usually start talking and telling stories and whatnot. I remember one of those campsites, if you sit down and just start listening to him, he starts talking about this really famous gunslinger by the name of Red Harlow from Red Dead Revolver, the spiritual successor to Red Dead Redemption. And I remember listening to that the first time, and that blew my mind. And then there's a couple of those in Red Dead 2, obviously, like with the Strange Man. Some of you may or may not have entered the Strange Man's Swamp Bayou home. And if you enter different stages in the game, he's doing a self-portrait. And you see different stages of him finishing the self-portrait. And then if you hang around long enough, apparently you see his reflection in a mirror. And then when you turn around, he's gone. That's pretty cool.
Was that a reference to Arthur in Red Dead 1?
I don't think so. Arthur wasn't on anyone's radar when they were making that game, you know? A lot of people have a lot of speculation about the Strange Man. A lot of people think he's deaf.
Specifically when he says, "You've forgotten more important people than me."
Yeah, I know. And it's true. But I don't think there was a direct reference to Arthur. But the writers were so clever, they made it look like it was.
Fair enough.
That's good stuff.
I got one more on this. I know you voiced a badass Western gunslinger, but we're going to have you try to voice some other iconic video game lines real quick.
Okay.
So I'll read them off and just have you voice them real quick.
Okay.
The first one is Mario, like how Mario says, "Oh,
it's me, Mario."
That's pretty good.
That was great. The next one is finish him.
Oh, yeah. Finish him.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, bonus. Let's go.
What about the EA Sports intro?
Oh, man. EA Sports. It's in the game.
Whoa, we interviewed the guy who voiced that, and he told us to say it's in the game, not it's in the game, but it's in the game.
Nice one. Oh, I hope he approves.
What about from the iconic line from GTA? Ah, shit, here we go again.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Man, that guy, man. Oh, I want to see more of, what's his name again? Melee, right? Young Melee, right?
Yeah.
Oh, San Andreas. I think San Andreas is my favorite GTA.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
I love playing that
and
growing up.
5, maybe. Love Vice City, too, though. Yeah.
I think I still have the GTA 3 unlimited weapons cheat code in my head. I think if I put a PS2 controller in my hand, I could still do it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you could just
Left
I
down,
remember
right up.
summoning tanks, and you could just summon
Yeah.
tank after tank after tank after tank. Good times.
It's something, something, something. Left down, right up. Left down, right up.
And then last one is do a barrel roll.
What's that from?
Star Fox.
Oh man. Ah, man. Oh god, yeah. I don't remember who says that. Is it the foxy guy or the eagle guy or the rabbit guy?
The donkey guy. The donkey guy. He goes, do a barrel roll.
Okay. I don't remember. I'll do it as Arthur. Do a barrel roll!
That's awesome. That'll be a good way to end it, too.
Nice.
With Arthur just doing that one.
That was great.
All right, I only got 2 more. All right, so this is a fun one. Does Arthur Morgan beat these video game characters in a fight?
Yes.
Franklin from
Yes.
GTA.
I'm joking.
Master
Sorry,
Chief.
I'll let you finish the question.
No, this is good. Master Chief.
Oh gosh. That's a lot of armor. I don't know. I don't know if
All right.
Arthur could take on Master Chief. No, not with the armor. I don't
Okay.
see him doing it.
Mario.
Yeah.
Okay. Snake from Metal Gear Solid.
That's tough. That's really tough. What prep time are we talking?
Let's say Snake has no prep time,
Okay.
and Arthur gets to see a little his photo hanging up, and he's going to bounty hunt him.
Well, now that
So
evens
maybe
it
it's
up
a
a
week.
bit.
A week of thinking about it.
I would actually side with Arthur on that one.
Let's go. Okay, the default skin from Fortnite.
Oh, I suck at that game so much. So
We do too.
Just from pure rage, from pure rage quitting, I'll say Arthur.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. That'd be a good one if someone wants to animate that. I'd like to see that one. Steve from Minecraft.
Yeah, he's smoking. Yeah.
All right, last one. Waluigi.
Nah, he's smoking
Okay.
Waluigi too.
Yeah.
The only one that I see a lot too about some people think that Ellie from The Last of Us would take on Arthur.
What?
Oh yeah, a lot of people think that would happen. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't want to say it too aggressively, but I don't see that. I mean, what version of her? I
Yeah,
guess.
maybe if Arthur is like dying of TB or something.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe there's a version of that.
Don't get me wrong, Ellie is a badass in the second one without a doubt. Yeah, but
Yeah, I just finished the first TV. I play the games, but I just finished the first season of the show. It's pretty good.
yeah. If you were going to say Kratos, I would have deferred. Yeah, Kratos would totally kick Arthur's ass. I would have to admit that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
To end on. All right, I got one more. Do you have?
Kind of thing. So these are both in-character prompts for you, if you don't mind. So we want to see Arthur Morgan. He's had a few too many drinks in the saloon, and he's talking about how much he loves Bronny James.
I gotta tell you something about Bronny James now. I've known that feller going on. Well, I don't know. It's been a long time. It's been longer than a horse's tail. But the thing about Bronny James is, if you start coughing around him or whatnot, he ain't funny. He don't tell you to put on a bandana or not. He's cool. He's chill. I love Bronny James. And here he is right now. Hey, what you drinking, Bronny James?
That's awesome. That was great. And then the second one's a little bit more serious. He's not drunk this time. But can we get a meaningful eulogy for John Marston from Arthur Morgan?
Well, John, as usual, you didn't do as you were goddamn told. I told you to, you better run and don't look back, and now here we are. As a matter of fact, what the hell am I doing here? But anyways, he was a good man, and he did what was right in the end. And now me, him, and Lenny are going to knock back a few. Don't forget Hosea. We're going to knock back a few up there in the silvery sky while we spit down on Dutch and Micah Bell.
Wow. That hits. That really hits. You really know the character. That's impressive.
I spent a long enough job on it, yeah. Yeah, I was I'm so honored to have been able to work on something that's being enjoyed by so many. It really, like I say, I pinch myself every day.
That's awesome.
I can imagine.
We're going to update this Red Dead Redemption 2 scene for Gen Alpha. Nick A30, what are you doing here? This is Ohio. You're trespassing.
The fellas at Costco, they don't seem too happy. Looks like you might get phantom taxed.
We own this land, so they can skib-a-dee out of here.
Sure. And then you're all gonna get low taper fades because the meme's still massive?
Bruh.
You can drop the act. Everyone knows you're working for the Rizzler. So why don't you run on home and mog and mew with him?
What in the Quandale Dingle Jr. did you just say? You better start running.
Must have got the wrong universe. Apologies, boys. You know what? On second thought, here's a double chunk chocolate quickie draw!
Boom!
Arthur, who's your biggest op?
My biggest op? What the hell's an op?
Opposition, your biggest enemy.
Oh, my biggest enemy? It's the tuberculosis vaccine. No, not the vaccine. My biggest op is, I don't like... Well, I'll tell you what John Marston's biggest op is, and that's any puddle with more than 2 inches of water in it.
That's good stuff.
That's awesome. All right, Roger, the floor is yours if you want to plug anything or...
Yeah, let us know what you're up to, or if there's any way that the fans can support you.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. It's been awesome. A few things in the pipeline. You can check my socials for news about upcoming appearances at conventions and what have you. I'm rclark98 on Twitter. I'm Rolling Raj on Instagram, and I'm Roger Clark Actor on TikTok, and that's also YouTube as well, Roger Clark Actor. I'm going to be at a wrestling thing for WrestleMania weekend. The promotion is called Pandemonium Pro Wrestling. It's on in Vegas, and I'm going to be at The House Always Wins. I'm going to be doing something. I don't know what yet.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's going to be televised, and you can catch up more news about that on my socials. The House Always Wins by Pandemonium Pro Wrestling. I think Shelton Benjamin's going to show up as well.
All right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's sweet. Roger Clark, the legend that is, was, and always will be Arthur Morgan. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back next week.
Cheers, guys.